I'm Ingrid, a 30-year-old woman who has dedicated her life to landscape architecture. My world has revolved around plants, colors, and the harmony found in nature. Since I inherited my grandparents' house, I've made this place my refuge and my canvas. However, what I never imagined was that the garden wouldn't be the only space where something unexpected would bloom. It all started on a warm spring day. The aromas of blooming flowers filled the air, and I decided it was the perfect time to give my garden a new look. I hired a gardener named Eric, a young man with a charming smile and contagious energy. From the moment I saw him, I felt a special connection. He had a way of talking about plants that captivated me. His eyes sparkled with passion and knowledge. Eric arrived at my house with his tools and a pair of work gloves. His dark hair fell messily over his forehead as he crouched down to examine the flowers that needed attention. The way he moved was agile and confident, and I couldn't help but admire his figure as he worked to transform my garden into an even more beautiful place. "What do you have in mind for this space?" he asked, standing up and looking at me with curiosity. "I want it to be a refuge, a place where I can escape from the world," I replied, feeling the heat rise to my cheeks as I realized how personal my desire was. He smiled, and in that moment, I knew we shared a connection beyond the simple relationship between client and gardener. Eric began working in the garden, and I watched him from the window, feeling my heart beat strongly every time our eyes met. There was a spark that I couldn't ignore. Over the days, our conversations became deeper. We talked about our lives, our dreams, and the things that inspired us. Eric was a gentleman, always willing to listen to me and offer support. However, there was something more in his gaze, an intensity that made me feel alive. One afternoon, while we were working together in the garden, I suggested taking a break. We sat on a wooden bench under the shade of a leafy tree. The air was filled with the sweet scent of flowers, and the atmosphere was perfect for sharing confidences. "Would you like to tell me something about yourself, Eric?" I asked. He looked at me with a shy smile and began to tell me about his childhood, his dreams of being a landscaper, and how he ended up working in my garden. His words were sincere and full of passion. I could see how each story he shared made him shine even brighter. "I've always felt a special connection with nature," he said. "Plants have a way of speaking to me. They teach me about life and beauty." His deep voice enveloped me like a soft embrace. In that instant, I felt the tension between us increase. Our eyes met, and something changed in the air. Without thinking twice, I moved closer to him, and our hands brushed softly. The electricity ran through my body as I felt his skin against mine. Eric leaned in, and before I knew it, our lips met in a soft but passionate kiss. It was as if time stood still, all that mattered was that shared moment between us. The kiss became more intense, and I felt his hand slide down my back as I pulled him closer. It was an impulsive act but also liberating. Finally, we were giving into the attraction we had been ignoring. When we pulled apart, we both breathed heavily, and I felt embarrassed by what had just happened. "Don't apologize," Eric replied, looking at me intensely. "I can't deny what I feel for you." My cheeks burned as I processed his words. The connection between us was undeniable, but I also knew this would complicate our lives. Still, I couldn't resist the attraction that had grown between us. From that day on, our romance bloomed among the flowers of the garden. Each encounter was filled with repressed passion and desire. We stole moments alone among the plants while the sun shone brightly above. We kissed fervently, exploring every corner of the garden as if it were our secret refuge. One afternoon, after a long day of work, we decided to celebrate our feelings with a dinner at my house. I set up a table outdoors, surrounded by soft lights and flickering candles. I wanted to create a magical atmosphere for us. Eric arrived with a bottle of wine and a radiant smile. We sat together, enjoying the food while talking about our dreams and longings. The chemistry between us was palpable, every glance and every touch ignited flames within me. After dinner, we decided to take a walk through the garden, illuminated by the moon. The flowers glowed under the silvery light, creating an almost ethereal atmosphere. Eric took my hand as we walked together, and I felt my heart beat strongly. We stopped in front of a beautiful pergola covered in climbing flowers. The fragrance was intoxicating, and I couldn't help but look into his eyes and feel the desire take over me again. "Ingrid," Eric whispered as he moved closer. "I can't stop thinking about you." Before I could respond, he kissed me intensely. His lips were warm and soft against mine, filled with contained passion. I let myself be carried away by the moment. Our hands began to explore each other's bodies while we lost ourselves in desire. Eric gently pushed me against the pergola. The contact with the flowers was electrifying. His hands ran down my back while I clung to his dark hair, wanting to have him closer. "You were incredible," he murmured between kisses. "I can't resist you." The intensity of the moment grew, every touch ignited flames within me. I felt his body press against mine, and my mind clouded with the overwhelming desire I was experiencing. We lost ourselves in the heat of the moment, the caresses becoming more daring while our gazes reflected what had just happened between us. "This is just the beginning," Eric said with a mischievous smile. "I want to explore every corner with you." My cheeks burned as I heard his words. I knew we were entering uncharted territory, but it was also exciting. Still, I couldn't deny what I felt for him. It was a fire that burned intensely within me. As the days passed, our relationship became more intense. Each encounter was filled with unbridled passion. We found moments alone where we could completely surrender to desire without external worries. One afternoon, we decided to escape to a small cabin in the woods. We needed time away from the outside world to explore our connection without restrictions or distractions. The cabin was surrounded by lush nature, the fresh and clean air enveloping us as we entered the cozy place where we would spend the weekend, away from the daily hustle and bustle. As soon as we closed the door behind us, the accumulated tension exploded into flames again. We lunged at each other like irresistible magnets. Our lips met with urgency while our hands began to explore every corner of each other's bodies. The cabin quickly filled with the sound of desire. Soft moans echoed off the walls as we gave ourselves without reservation to the unbridled passion we had been repressing for so long. Eric led me to the sofa where we fell together. His hands skillfully ran over my skin while my fingers tangled in his dark hair, pulling gently back to deepen our fiery kiss. Every touch ignited flames within me. I felt my body respond to each of his caresses as if it were made only for him. The chemistry between us was undeniable. We were two souls destined to find each other amid the emotional chaos that surrounded our relationship. As we lay exhausted on the sofa, our bodies entwined, breathing heavily while we recovered, we decided to have a serious conversation about our future. We both knew we couldn't continue like this forever without hurting those we loved. One quiet night after having dinner together, we decided to sit in front of the crackling fire in the living room. It was time to talk openly about our feelings without fear or reservations. "Ingrid, this can't continue like this," Eric began with a serious tone. "We need to find a solution for everyone." I looked at him steadily as I nodded slowly. I knew exactly where he was going with this. "You were right. I don't want to hurt anyone, but I also can't ignore what I feel for you." We both shared our sincere thoughts about how we had reached this point and how to find a solution. We talked about our fears and insecurities, as well as our hope for finding a way forward together without leaving behind all the good we had experienced so far. Finally, we came to an important conclusion. Although we wanted to be together, we had to be responsible about our future decisions, always keeping in mind the emotional well-being of my mother and the family bond created over all these years. And so began a new chapter, filled with challenges but also filled with true love. We learned to communicate openly and honestly about our feelings while working hard to find healthy solutions for both of us and for my mother, who deserved to know the whole truth without reservations or hidden secrets. And that was my story. I want to know your thoughts in the comments, and if you liked it, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next stories. Goodbye for now.